Hello everyone, so we are from Group 4 and today we are back again with our story about New Zealand. But before that, this video will take about 25 minutes of your time and this is our agenda for today's video. So firstly, we will talk about the political environment. New Zealand is a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary system of government that also consists of Queen Elizabeth II as the sovereign and head of state. The New Zealand monarchy has been distinct from the British monarchy following the Statute of Westminster Adoption Act 1947, and all Queen Elizabeth II's official business in New Zealand is conducted in the name of the Queen of New Zealand. New Zealand is using the Constitutional Act 1986, which was consolidated from the former Constitutional Act 1852. The Constitution itself was a no formal codified constitution that consisted of certain acts in the United Kingdom and New Zealand Parliament, the principle of Treaty Waitangi, and constitutional conventions. The constitutional rights are also protected under common law and strengthened by the Bill of Rights Act 1990 and Human Rights Act 1993. It lays down the framework defining fundamental political principles of governance and establishes the powers of the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of the state. Moving on to the first branch in the constitution, the legislative body is the New Zealand Parliament that consists of the Queen of New Zealand, or usually stated as Queen in Parliament, and the House of Representatives. The House is the sole chamber in the Parliament and usually consists of 120 members in Parliament or MPs. 72 of them were elected directly through the electorates, while the rest were chosen based on each party's share of the party vote, and they will serve for a maximum 3-year term. Based on the picture, these are the current seats in the 53rd New Zealand Parliament following the official result of 2020 general elections. The majority is Labour in coalition with Green Party. The current figure on the top right is the current main office holder. The main duty of legislative body is mainly in proceeding with the passage of legislation. A law must first introduced in Parliament as a draft known as a bill. The majority of bills are proclaimed by the government of the day. All bills must go through 3 readings in the House of Representatives before receiving royal assent to become an act of parliament or statutory law. The first reading is debate and vote stage to decide on the status of the bill. Select committee will consider the bill if approved in previous stage. General principles of bill are debated in second reading and sent to committee of the House if approved. Third reading will summarize the argument and final vote before getting the royal assent. Next is the executive branch, also known as New Zealand government. They are the central government through which governing authority is exercised there. Based on the principle of responsible government, it operates within the framework that the Queen reigns but the government rules, so long as it has the support of the House of Representatives. The government is formed through the coalition of parties that can command the confidence of the majority MPs in the House of Representatives. The ministers are made up from the first elected members of the House of Representatives under the advice of the Prime Minister. Most ministers have a portfolio of specific responsibilities such as departments or policy areas. Older ministers without portfolio can be appointed. There are 20 cabinet ministers, 4 ministers outside cabinet, and also 2 cooperation agreement ministers. The primary function of the executive body is to issue order in council, which is a power to enact the decision that requires the force of law and made by the cabinet. They will collectively and formally advise the Governor General on any matter related to the executive part. The current main office holder of the executive branch is led by the Queen, the Governor General, and also the Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. Moving on to the next branch, which is the judiciary branch. The judiciary of New Zealand is responsible for the system of courts that interprets and applies the laws of New Zealand. It has 4 primary functions. First is to provide a mechanism for dispute resolution, to deliver authoritative rulings on the meaning and application of legislation, to develop case law, and to uphold the rule of law, personal liberty, and human rights. The judiciary is supported in its work by an executive department, the Ministry of Justice. The body is mainly responsible for the 4-level court system. The first court, which is the Supreme Court, sits at the apex of the New Zealand court hierarchy as the final appellate court. Consisting of 6 members, the cases may only go to the Supreme Court if it grants leave to appeal. It generally hears appeals of considerable public interest, commercial significance, substantial miscarriages of justice, or significant issues relating to the Treaty of Waitangi. The next one is the Court of Appeal. Consisting of 10 members, this court usually hears the appeal from the High Court, which is the third court. The High Court primarily hears complex cases or those cases which exceed the lower court's jurisdiction like murder, manslaughter, and treason. The last one is the District Court, which usually deals with the family and young people under the Family Court and Youth Court, respectively. The head of New Zealand Judiciary is the Right Honourable Dame Helen Winkelman, who is also the Chief of Justice of New Zealand. Usually they will be appointed by the Governor General, on the advice of Prime Minister. The Chief of Justice also can act in place for Governor General and known as the Administrator of the Government if one has not been appointed. So there are two major political parties in New Zealand, which are Labour and National. So Labour was founded on 7 July 1916, where it is a merger of two parties, which are Social Democratic Party and United Labour Party. Labour is a centre-left politics where they believe in working with the established system to improve social justice. There are 10 Labour Prime Ministers in 6 periods with their own achievement, such as privatized state assets, reduced role of states in economy, and introduction to New Zealand nuclear-free policy. Labour was once the largest party and won the majority seats in 2020 elections. The second major political party is National Party, which was founded on 14 May 1936, and it is preceded by United Reform Coalition. National is a centre-right politics, which means that there is a shift in the social class structure and the economy from the nobility and mercantilism towards the upper class and capitalism. National has governed for 5 periods, and some of the achievements are the shifting of government from economic liberalism to increased emphasis on state interventionism and continuation of radical free markets. The electoral system of New Zealand was changed from the first past the post FPP to mixed member proportional MMP. MMP is a system where New Zealanders are given two votes. One is to vote for a candidate from an electorate, another is to elect a ranked party list. Labour established the Royal Commission into the electoral system after the election due to the unfairness in the political system spurred by the public. After the government considered the issues for several years, the Vulgar National Government responded to the public by holding an indicative referendum on the electoral system in 1992. Due to an overwhelming majority for a change, a second binding referendum was held, asking voters to choose between FPP and MMP, which later in 1994 resulting in New Zealand to officially adopt MMP. There are two thresholds in the MMP system. The first is any party which receives more than 5% party vote is entitled to a share of the seat. Second is any party that wins one or more electorate seats is entitled to an additional share of the seats. Moving on to the political base of New Zealand, there are some strengths and weaknesses. Firstly, the political and economic situation is good, as well as the business environment. New Zealand is one of the most stable democracies in the world, where they have a form of proportional representation and governments are usually in coalition. A diverse and representative parliament has been keeping public engagement with the political process high. The economy of New Zealand has also expanded every year due to the political stability. The good government has helped investors to involve in New Zealand's business. World Bank's Doing Business has also mentioned that New Zealand is one of the easiest countries to do business in. Due to New Zealand's proximity to Asia and Australia, they have a very strong trading relationship. New Zealand also has a balanced public accounts and contain public debt in normal times. Furthermore, New Zealand is a large and competitive agricultural sector as it is their main industry. Some of the weaknesses of New Zealand's politics is it is an island nation, which makes them vulnerable to disruptions in market access, changes in international flows, labor, and access to international capital markets, which forces them to rely on foreign investment. New Zealand is also high on household and corporate debt levels, which can amplify the downturn and causes financial institutions to face some serious losses. The lack of research and development and low level productivity growth in New Zealand compared to other OECD countries, as well as shortage of skilled labor, are also one of the risks faced by New Zealand. Lastly, New Zealand is reliant on Chinese demand, where free trade with China has been an essential component in their rapid recovery from the financial effects. So that's all for the political environment.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Jose Nabit Ramadan Goa, ES03594. In my part, I will explain to you about legal environment in New Zealand. The legal system in New Zealand is divided into three main periods. The first one is up until 1840s, Maori customary law, and is still recognized in New Zealand if meet certain criteria. And then in after 1840s, legal system was founded on British law and evolved into separate system. And then after 1940s, international law and treaties have influenced New Zealand. And the New Zealand legal system is derived from the English one and comes from two main sources, common law and statute law. Common law is a body of law is built up from decision made in the UK and in New Zealand. Meanwhile, the statute law is law made by Parliament. Here you can see the picture of three branches of government in New Zealand. The legislature is such as Parliament, Government General, and then Member of Parliament and select committees. Their main job is to make laws such as examine, debate, and vote bills, which are then said to be due by Government General. And the executive, such as cabinet member and public sector, is decide policy, draft bills, enforce and administrates and etc. Their main job is to initiate and administrate law. And for the judiciary, which is the judge, is here and decide cases by applying relevant law into fact. The main job is to apply law. And then you can see in this part the court structure in New Zealand. Uh, there are Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, High Court, and the other part. The main things to highlight is judges are appointed by the Governor General on the advice of the Attorney General, who is a cabinet member in the government. Have two types of court, which is General Court and Specialist Court. General Court function each level. There are four of them. The first one is District Court. Most criminal cases are heard here. A large number of civil cases, which amount dispute is less than $350,000. The second one is High Court. Most serious criminal and civil cases where the amount in dispute is $350,000 or more. Also, here are complex civil cases, administrative law cases, and appeals from the decision of court and tribunals below it. And then the next part is Appeal Court. Here, civil and criminal appeals from cases in the High Court and criminal appeals from the jury trials in the District Court. And the last one is Supreme Court. It's the highest and final court. Another type of court is specialized court that act based on the court function. Specialist court are such as the employment court, family court, work court, memorial land court, and the last one is the environment court. About the regulation in business affair, they must be reporting on the company's register, providing address, so identity, and the other thing to increase transparency. Required to keep record of all business income and expenditure for accounting purposes and file their financial statement to the Inland Revenue Department once a year. For trade regulation doing business in New Zealand, such as advertising, pricing, matching, and fair trade. Regulation for financial services company operating in the financial services sector will appear on a separate company register. Citizen can view the services a company offered and information about its shareholder and director. Important to note that regulation in the financial services sector is right and it's enforced on the letter. New Zealand employment law and consideration, such as minimum wages, leave and sick pays, dismissal insurance, contract, and discrimination. For the last slide, here you can see the corruption perception index. You can see the New Zealand and Malaysia. New Zealand is the first place as of 2020, with the highest was recorded at 2013 until 2015, with the lowest one was recorded at 2018 and until 2019. Its value individual autonomy, social diversity, egalitarian structure, good quality of life, and the right to freely express one's opinion. Meanwhile, Malaysia is ranked to 57th place as of 2020, with the highest one recorded at 2019 and the lowest one was recorded at 2017 until 2018. It is such as government corruption, bribery, personal connection, bribery exchange for voting, and etc. That's all from legal part in New Zealand. We can proceed to the next presenter. Thank you.
I will continue our presentation. Now I'm going to introduce cultural environment. New Zealand is a Pacific island country that integrates many traditions into its modern culture, such as Oceanian, Polynesian, and European traditions. However, their culture is still highly informal and relaxed. A strong sense of security, coupled with relative social and economic prosperity, makes many New Zealanders optimistic. New Zealand's culture influence mainly comes from Europe and Maori. Most indigenous people still follow traditional customs, but immigrant groups usually tend to integrate into the European lifestyle. British colonies in the 9th century brought Western culture and had a dramatic effect on the indigenous inhabitants, spreading their religious traditions and the English language. Maori culture also influenced colonists, and a distinctive New Zealand European culture has evolved. New Zealand's 5 million inhabitants are made up of very diverse ethnicities. The majority of New Zealand are of European descent, with the indigenous Maori being the largest minority, followed by Asians and non-Maori Pacific Islanders, Mila, and other ethnicities. Most new migrants to New Zealand come from British, Ireland, South Africa, the US, and growing numbers of skilled Asian professionals. There's no official religion in New Zealand, and New Zealand advocates freedom of belief. Most of the residents believe in Christianity. Hinduism and Buddhism are the most important minority religions, and Islam has the least believers. The rest are non-believer and does not claim any religious affiliation. About business customs in New Zealand. Firstly, respect physical space. Greetings are initiated with a handshake, and that's enough for New Zealanders in terms of physical contact at work. Hugs and shake kisses are largely absent in the workplace. Secondly, business communication. The official language is English. When meeting someone or leaving, using a firm handshake with good eye contact. Good eye contact means looking into the other person's eyes. When shaking hands, not looking down at your hand. The eye contact is maintained during the handshake. Men generally wait for a woman to be the first to extend her hand for a handshake. Women do shake other women's hands. Use your same firm handshake with good eye contact. The people are reserved, but always warm and polite when you meet them. Address a person using his or her title, or Mr., Mrs., Miss plus the full name. Honesty is the best policy. Don't hype your product or service, and don't be a braggart. Do not lower your voice to get loud. Maintain a reserved manner. Thirdly, business dress and appearance. When conducting business in New Zealand, you want to dress conservatively and tending toward a more formal look. Men should wear darker colored suits with a conservative tie to maintain formality. A white shirt would be worn. A woman should wear a suit, a dress, or shirt and blouse with a jacket. The wardrobe should incorporate classic styles and colors. Umbrellas and raincoats are necessary most of the year because of the climate and rainfall. The climate is temperate, not tropical. Do not use the V for victory sign when we're in this country. Fourthly, business meeting etiquette. Appointments are usually necessary and should be made at least 1 week in advance by telephone, fax, or email. It's generally easy to schedule meetings with senior level managers if you are coming from another country, if the meeting is planned well in advance. Arrive at meetings on time or even a few minutes early. Meetings are generally relaxed. However, they are serious events. Expect a brief amount of small talk before getting down to the matter at hand. If you make a presentation, avoid hype. Present your business case with facts and figures. Emotions and feelings are not important in the New Zealand business climate. Maintain eye contact and a few feet of personal space. That's all for my part. I will pass to next presenter.
So now I will present on the consumer product in which we decided to sell golf attire. The reason why is because New Zealand is one of the world premier golfing location due to their geographical and climate that conducive for outdoor activity. In fact, golf is listed as the #1 sport in New Zealand which provide least expensive golfing that attract numbers of visitors. The highlight for our golf attire is golf hat, in which the golf hat will be inside out with mask attached. As you can see, golf hat can shading and avoid from invention of UV, protect eyes, made of breathable and rainproof material, unique decoration and give warming effect to the user. In terms of competitors, other brands like Adidas, Under Armour, Callaway and Tyler, Travis Mathew, they not only sell golf hat, but also sell other equipment such as golf bag, shoes, glove, and so forth. However, with the uniqueness of our brands, our inside out with mask golf hat, we're pretty sure that the product will be demanding by the golfer to have it as they are to design in one golf hat and mask as protection in COVID-19 area. Therefore, there will be two sales methods, which are online sales that become phenomena in shopping nowadays experience, and offline sales that good for adjusting marketing strategy according to customer situation. So I will pass to the next presenter.
Hello everyone, my name is Wang Yuxi and my metric number is 204406. Now I'd like to introduce tariff and non-tariff barrier. The tariff for New Zealand, every import goods into New Zealand will be classified within their tariff. Most of imported goods won't attract any tariff duty as most goods is under duty free. A tariff rulings service is provided for import that is unsure about where goods should be classified in the tariff. Preferential tariff might be applied to goods import from specific countries if requirements meet under New Zealand existing free trade agreement. Some goods also might be duty-free by way of a tariff concessions. Here is the working tariff documents. Consolidation source based on Tariff Act 1988 and the Customers and Access Act 2018, divided into two parts, which is the standard tariff and the concession. Under standard tariff, there are two duty column, which is normal tariff and the preferential tariff. Under the normal tariff, duties apply to goods from all countries except for goods to be entitled under preferential tariff. Under standard tariff, there are 21 sections and excess duties. It covers a very complete range of goods, animals, vegetables, and some related derivatives and substitutes, and have detailed regulations. Minerals and chemical products are also. Various daily necessities and even the raw materials used to produce them and classified and specified in details. These parts have a more detailed division and classification of mineral resources and the products they make. Arms and ammunition, parts and accessories, thereof, miscellaneous, manufactured articles, works of art. Next are excess duties and excess equivalent duties table. It contains two parts. Part A is goods manufactured in New Zealand. Part B is imported goods. For preferential tariff, there are three forms. There are goods wholly obtained, produced in the preferential country, goods entirely produced in the preferential country, and goods partly manufactured in the preferential country. Different goods will enjoy different preferential tariff according to the following requirements. Rates of duty are prefixed with one of the under-mentioned abbreviations, which represent a particular country or group of countries. Here shows the type of goods. For tariff concession, remove tariff duty that would otherwise payable under tariff for certain goods. Application for new tariff concession can be made through New Zealand Customer Service. For tariff rulings, type of rulings available for valuation, classification, origin, and concession. There are two conditions: the people who apply for them and the specific item the rulings cover. And there are two benefits. Non-tariff barriers are rules that make it costly or difficult to export to a particular market. You might experience this as red tape, roadblock, or cost of doing business. New Zealand examples include the 11 below. Manufacturers are facing standard regulatory restriction on your export, such as standards, rules in selling to foreign governments, or other restrictions blocking you from export. Contract the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. Education services are facing barriers such as licensing requirements, investments, and foreign ownership restrictions or qualifications recognition. Contact Education New Zealand for help. Service and investment are facing foreign equity caps, data storage requirements, or procurement rules that are unfairly preventing you from exporting your service offshore. Get in touch with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade for assistance. The Ministry for Primary Industry can help primary industry sector exports deal with barriers for food safety and standards or animal welfare. New Zealand tax. Overseas business that sell low-value goods to customers in New Zealand need to pay goods and service tax. Transport and insurance are excluded when GST is determined to be charged on the low-value goods. The GST rates in New Zealand is 15%, which can be calculated by multiple the purchase price by 3 and divided by 23. That's all of my part. Now I'd like to pass to next friend Idayu.
For the target market, we decide to target single and married men in Auckland with age 18 to 60 years old with the income of $6,000 to $15,000 per month with active lifestyle. For the geographic, Auckland is located at North Island of New Zealand where the Auckland is the city with the highest numbers of golf courses. Next is demographic. We are target single and married men with age between 18 to 60 years old who love to play golf. For the economic, which is level of income, we are target middle to high income people between $6,000 to $15,000 per month as their income. Lastly is psychographic lifestyle. We are target people with active lifestyle. As we can see, there are 10 activities that golfers take part in at least once over 12 months. So we are target the people who is active in sport and active in recreation activities. So that's all from us. Thank you for listening.